Hi, friends. O'Neill here. Welcome to this collaboration between myself and Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum. Now, she and I have been in communication post-election, and she and I are on opposite ends of the political spectrum. And we are working really hard to have communication with each other and with you. So we started this collaboration and it'll go on for a few weeks here, but right now we're talking about in this first episode, what do we do about Thanksgiving dinner? So I hope you pay attention, subscribe. Glad to have you here.
Let's
Well,
just take a minute and say hello to our new friends that are joining us and introduce ourselves.
We
So,
can do that, and we can talk
yes,
about why we're doing what we're
why
doing.
we're doing what we're doing. So, I want to let my friend Bonnie go first.
Okay, so I'm Bonnie Nussbaum. I'm a clinical psychologist. I've been a psychologist for 40 some years, and most of the work that I did was in trauma.
Mm,
And I got to the point where the systems were not working for my patients or for me. And so I left that system and became a coach. And coaching affords me a whole lot broader latitude to do what I feel is in the highest and best good of whomever I am meeting at a
yeah.
particular point in time. So I believe certain things and vote accordingly. And we have the opportunity together we like each other. We get along really
Yes,
well.
we do.
And what we're hoping is that we can talk about hard
Yeah.
things and demonstrate ways to talk about the stuff that's difficult. Thanksgiving is coming,
Yes.
people. You're
We're
going to
going
be with, yeah. So,
yeah.
you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm O'Neill Conley, and I started my career as a registered nurse for 40 something years. Um, But I was a staff nurse, I was in leadership, actually, transitioned into a leadership consultant. I got my doctoral degree in organizational leadership and studied bullying in healthcare, and that was my jam. I had watched nurses become devastated myself personally, bullied in a lot of different circumstances. But I have taken my first coaching program when I was going through a divorce, and I think it helped me more than it helped anybody else. And so I also have a coaching practice that is trauma aware, focusing on bullying, on the response to that, on all of this. And Bonnie and I had met each other and we were having conversations about the world that we're living in right now. And each of us have our own opinions, our own thoughts about how things have shaken out, but we can still love each other and we can still talk and we can still disagree and we can
Mhm.
still figure out what might work best for you as well. So we're hoping that over the next couple of weeks, we are going to focus on Thanksgiving. Because I was talking to somebody just this morning who said, "Oh my God, we're going to have to draw names. We're going to have to do this. And this was not going to talk to this one." I go, "That's craziness." We want to enjoy and we want
What's
to,
priority? What's priority?
yeah, there you go.
Is it more important to be right or is it more important to have a lovely dinner with your family?
Sure. I realized that some of those people might not be here next year. And I think
Mhm.
that's very bone chilling, I guess, if you think about it.
And orienting.
Yes.
Orienting. It really helps you discern what matters and
Yeah.
what doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the premises and one of the things that we've been working on is this book. It's called
Mhm.
Taking, and we both started, there we go. We both have copies of it.
Yep.
And it was written by a gal by the name of Sharon Ellison. And she actually is a director of the Institute of Powerful Non-Defensive Communication. And Bonnie had actually done a series of these in her early morning communications that she does every morning. If you guys need to check her out at 7:15 on Facebook. But the message and if you want to sort of encapsulate some of her key points, we can maybe move on from there.
Absolutely. One she starts in the introduction talking about being a child and already realizing that what people said had an influence on how their relationships went, and that what people said and did, like little kids saying, "Sticks and stones may break
Yeah.
my bones, but names will never hurt me," when obviously they were hurt.
Yes.
That
Yes.
did not compute in her brain. And so, as an adult, she wrote the book And her daughter actually said that this book is her sister
I saw that
because,
too.
yeah. So, but what I love about this book is she uses vignettes, little stories from the people that she's taught, and some really heavy duty stories.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the things that we can look at and go, "Oh yeah, I've lived this. I've lived this story." How do we, when we're fired up like a Christmas tree, we're just, ready to kill who's ever just said whatever. How do we calm ourselves back
Yeah.
down? And I will tell you, somebody telling you to calm down is the absolute last
Never.
thing that's ever going to work.
That's right.
Never
That's
going
right.
to work. Not at all. So, how do we regroup ourselves and be able to ask questions, um, make statements, predict things in ways that make it most likely the other person can hear us and stay engaged with us, and we can have the conversation?
And we probably should say that we are filming this on November 11th, 2024. So it hasn't even been a week since this presidential election that has caused grief and angst,
Upheaval, lots of
upheaval,
upheaval. Yes.
a whole bunch of
And lots of people almost, well, I'll share one if you don't mind.
not at all.
I was telling them what I was going to make, asking them what they were going to make. What will we have? My father's going to turn 90 in
Yeah.
December. This may be the last Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my brother sends to me with respect. Absolutely no politics. None. First time it comes up, I'm leaving. Thanks.
Mm.
I sent back. It's been dicey, but I do see people trying hard to bridge gaps and coexist. And I sent a heart. And then I said, and we can't control Grandpa's behavior, so we'll have to do what we can do. He sends back agreed, and my daughter sends back 10-4.
I love it.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And, part of my coaching, and we'll get into this as we go along, is that concept of let them, meaning you can't control anyone else. Absolutely. You can't control your brother. You can't control your dad. You can't control your daughter. All those things. But what we're hoping to be able to do is respond versus reacting, which gets us into the amygdala hijack, which I'm sure we'll do a whole complete show on the amygdala hijack and the polyvagal theory, because there are a lot of things to go, okay, we need to have a stopgap or a word or something that brings us back into this, whether it's everybody says grandpa, and that's the word that brings us back into this moment.
Right. Because think about this. How often have you had the conversation with your best friend that, this Thanksgiving, I'm going to be really cool and calm and collected, and pretty soon you're throwing mashed potatoes at someone?
Yes.
We try really hard. We do
do.
try really hard.
We do. And
But we need more tools.
bingo.
So we'll
And
give you tools.
And that's what we're hoping to offer. And one of the tools that will be available is actually a list of some of the words we want us to refrain from saying. Some of the words that came from this book, things that are
Yes.
warlike, words that I'm triggered, or death spiral, or all of the things that we say I'm aiming to. We
Yeah.
want you to be
Yeah.
aware of
We're
it. So,
doing battle with.
yes,
She
doing
lost her fight with cancer.
cancer.
No,
Oh,
no
yeah.
fighting.
No
No
fighting.
fighting.
No
No.
fighting. And so we're going to have that available in the show notes. And we also hope you subscribe to our channels. We're going to post this. This is a collaboration. So Bonnie's going to post this on her feed and I'm going to post it on mine, but you're going to be able to find us once a week together in the same place, having these
Yep.
conversations. And we will take questions. If you've got something that you're up against, please write us a comment and say, I'm struggling with so-and-so.
Right. That could be great grist for our mill. And there
Yeah.
might be times we actually have talked about, I have a virtual assistant, Morgan, who is a 30-something, and we invited her to one of our Zoom calls in preparation for this. And it went so well because she asked the most amazing, discerning questions.
Yes.
And so there may be a point where we actually have her interview the two of us, and we can get some generational conversation going.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, life's too short.
Yep.
Life's too short.
And if you're going to bed regretting things that you said during the day, we want to help with that.
Exactly. And that is the purpose for our time together. I'm telling you, go to Bonnie's Facebook page. Bonnie, tell them about your Yemig, because I think it's fabulous.
So I did this cheesy little thing called your early morning intuitive guidance, Yemig. that was basically, I pick a card out of a deck. And if you look back here, you can see piles of decks of cards, pull it, and then I just riff on it. Whatever came to mind, whatever things so I would teach people how to breathe better. I would, all kinds of stuff. So that 10 years hence, that is the only one that has survived.
That you usually start with is some kind of tapping. And I
Mhm.
think people who don't understand tapping, it's a way of bringing yourself back into the moment, bringing
Right.
yourself tapping and breathing and understanding the biology behind your response and actually doing, you always have us tap and do some, and so,
Yes, and there's multiple ways
yeah,
to, and this is what I think is going to be so useful about this. Regardless of what we're talking about, there are going to be multiple ways to think about it and multiple ways to process it. And it doesn't mean that any of them are wrong or right. It's what works for you.
yeah,
So oftentimes, my guess is the two of us are going to offer up different ways to look at something.
right.
You get to decide what works for you.
Yeah. And after Thanksgiving is done, then we have Christmas to deal with. The coping and the dealing and narcissistic bosses. And there's just so many things that so many of us are dealing with. And we
Right.
think we're alone. And we're here to tell you, you ain't alone. Yeah.
As wounded people, we
Yeah.
do without even realizing we're doing. So that can be some of the stuff, how many times have we heard someone say, nobody ever listens to me? Or why is it that nothing ever works out for me? When we have those thinking patterns in our heads,
Yeah.
life is going to have a hard time handing us good stuff when we don't believe we deserve it.
Bingo. Bingo.
So, and I'm going to do my little riff here on talk therapy.
Yep.
Talk therapy is a wonderful thing.
Yep.
It is limited.
Mhm.
It is very limited. If you're not dealing with the 95% of your consciousness that's subconscious, change is not going to occur.
Sure. Absolutely. So, Bonnie, any closing message to our friends as they prep for Thanksgiving, as they prep for this world that
Yes.
we're in right this minute?
Yes. If I could wish you anything, it would be that you would be soft and kind and loving first and foremost to yourself. First and foremost to yourself, then to everybody else, but you first. You first.
And the word grace.
Mhm.
For grace. You know,
Mhm.
it's easier, it's easy to do, but oftentimes hard to think about doing. So, and Bonnie comes with a whole toolbox of tool, and so do I. So
Mhm.
we're gonna have a chance. What maybe we'll do a tool a week, or we just want to introduce you to us and let you know what you're in for. Again, we want you to subscribe, share this with your friends, follow us. We want you to go forth into this week, and we'll see you again next week. We're gonna try to do this once a week. Be looking forward to us, and you might get some emails and all sorts of stuff. But we are so
Yep.
happy to be with you.
Yes. Go forth. Have a lovely week.